clothes don't make you fly, but
Matthew Flowers is many things: a yoga teacher, a model, a Morehouse grad. He's also a millennial, navigating a world where identity and ambition collide. So, how do you transform a love of fashion into something more? A runway, a photo shoot, a platform. For Matthew, it starts with presence, in movement, odds, and in self, because fashion isn't just what you wear, it's how you show up. And Matthew shows up fully.
Yo, today we're going to talk with Matthew Flowers, who is a yoga teacher, a model, and a Morehouse man. If you know, you know. And we're going to talk about something the everyday man should have an interest in. What is it like being a millennial model? Matthew in the building. How are you, man?
what's going on, Reggie? How are you?
I'm hanging in. Happy to be here.
It's a beautiful day, isn't it?
It's a beautiful day in my neighborhood. So before we go into our topic, I've kind of hinted to the audience, but please tell us. So what do you do?
Yeah, man, my days are busy, purposely busy, right? I like to I like to start off early. I have a lot of commitments, right? And I do that because I live my life based on my priorities, friends, family, work, interests, hobbies, and things that just fuel my passions. So, yeah, just honestly, I get up early. I make sure that my body's s- sound in mind, right? I'm in this phase where everything's about maintenance, right? I think that's actually what got me into yoga in the first place. I was originally an athlete, playing at Morehouse College, and realized I didn't have to compete anymore now that I'm in my 30s. And I needed to find ways that I could just leverage my body, build strength, but also just find that maintenance, right? So it's something that I'm always cognizant of when I'm thinking about even even when it comes to fashion, right? It's all about balance. So I start my days very mindful. I check in with myself. I do a physical activity, and I just prepare for the day. So I typically teach after I get done with my 9 to 5, which I'm a project manager. I work for pharmaceutical brands, so it's that corporate structure. It's got a lot of handshaking and relationships. So being able to talk on a cuff is just part of the gab, right? But it's all about being prepared for the day, right? Being prepared, having your topics that you're discussing through work, topics that I'm gonna be bringing up into my yoga class, and they all kind of fuel one another. And then it's always about staying ready as well, right? So I don't like to when I get a modeling job, and it's very interesting because a lot of people that I model with, that's either their primary gig or their supplementary that they try to do more of. Where I'm in that maintenance bag, right? I'm really more or less getting jobs that I believe in the brands that I'm working with and growing with, and developing different relationships and teams when I'm on set. So I think being a millennial model specifically is all about the mindfulness of it, right? I'm on set because I'm there to work and I'm there to create relationships and I'm there to explore as much as I can and find synergies with the team that I'm working with. So I'm very mindful when it comes to being on set, even if it's a fashion show where there's uh, people buzzing left and right. You have beautiful women, you have handsome guys, you have amazing audiences and amazing fashion. It's about taking it all in and realizing I'm here to work, I'm here to create relationships, and I need to show up as my authentic self. And so just keeping that all in mind has just been really beautiful, and it's something that it sounds like yoga, modeling, and being a project manager are so separated or maybe siloed, right? But in reality, I'm able to take every realm that I operate in and have that fuel the exact person that I aim to be. I think that's what really kind of gets the engine going, and it's I'm able to keep that level of busyness, right? I think a lot of people try to pack their schedules and then they find themselves burnt out. I, on the other hand, I feel fueled and energized by making myself busy because they fall in line to the priorities that I have in life. And I know I didn't mention this, but I ought to, I also keep God first, right? I think just making sure that I'm honoring my vision that God has given me purpose for is absolutely the cornerstone of, the season that I'm in now. I wasn't always this way as a, 22-year-old running around New York. Like, there's a different guy you're probably talking to. But just sitting here in this season right now and just knowing what my priorities are, that's why I'm able to stay so busy and be very mindful of it. And it's just added to the different levels of prosperity that I've been able to reach.
So you have made it extremely clear that all three of these endeavors live in harmony inside of you.
Harmony is a great word.
I try. So, so what I want to know is we're going to pick one endeavor and I want you to elaborate on, how this came to be. And that's specifically for right now, the modeling. First of all, for the audience, are you a commercial model, like a print model? Are you doing runway? Are you doing a combination? And also, do you have an agent?
Great questions. I'll start at the end. Yes, I do have an agent. I have a slew of agents, actually. I have representation from New York all the way down to Miami and a couple spots in between. I tell people diversity is the cornerstone of prosperity. It's the cornerstone of competition, right? You're allowing yourself to be immersed in rooms that you could not have fathomed you being in because you may have just been so focused. Focus isn't the right word, tunnel visioned, right? I think there's a there's a huge benefit in Phoenix, stop it. Sorry, man, my dog is doing stupid. Um, it is being diverse is what's going to help you, get along in life. I think if you are able to understand what your priorities are and diversify amongst them, it's going to really help a lot of folks out, right? So definitely represented in a lot of different territories because I do love to travel and I have resources in all the areas that I'm represented. It's very strategic in the markets that I picked because I knew that if I needed to represent myself as a local talent, that I have resources there that I can do so. Working remote also helps with this because I can go ahead and work most of the day, take a 2 hour break to shoot someone's catalog, and then, get back into meetings. So
Cool.
it's a good balance, right? And so that also comes with prep work the night before. I got to know where I'm shooting, what the time frames are, and then is there anywhere that I can catch a 3 o'clock meeting directly after because I know I have a call. So is there a coffee shop around? Is there a train station that'll take me from point A to point B within a certain time frame? Like it's all the prep that goes into making the day run as smooth as possible. Because if I put that work in before, then I get to absolutely reap the benefits during and not come to a situation where I'm anxious or overwhelmed because things are moving so fast. I'm just ready for them because I prepared for them. And so that's been a really great journey for me, especially just moving up and down from New York to Miami. And I've lived in a couple of those places. So just picking up those relationships along the way has been really, really beneficial. I think you also asked, how did I get into modeling?
Yeah.
So, you know, rewinding the story back to 11, 12 years ago, being on Morehouse College campus, I'm an athlete, but I'm not so into fashion. Like I came from a Catholic school in high school where we wore uniforms, so it's like, how creative could you be? And I liked that I knew what I was gonna wear, and like there's some benefits there, right? It instilled dependency, it instilled just preparation and just a lot of those characteristics that I just mentioned before. But then I'm on campus and it's exploding at the seams with culture, right? Like everybody's got their own different cultures. And Morehouse is a really special place, and I'll explain why. There are so many Black people in this country, and we have a lot of synergies within the culture. But everybody's culture, whether it's Louisiana or California or the DMV or New York or even expanded to Ghana and South Africa, you have so many cultures and so much beautiful history and fashion and culinary arts that you want to absorb as much as you can. So being that sponge that I am, I just started absorbing as much as I could and just it got me into a room or two that I just didn't know I was going to be in. I ended up meeting a lady by the name Marie Thomas, an amazing photographer in Atlanta, has shot some of the greats. Talk about Tony, and just a good photographer and an amazing woman, an amazing human being. She saw something in me that I didn't see in myself and signed me up for a shoot. Um, Literally took my entire book, like did frame for frame my entire modeling portfolio from start to finish, and helped me submit to some agencies, helped me submit to some brands, and I started working. And I was just like, this is amazing because it's human powered, right? It's not you're not relying on a machine. You're relying on the relationship and the dedication and the vision of another person and what you can bring to that, right? It's like that relationship that you realize isn't always 50-50, but you gotta bring something to the table. And so with that, I just found a lot of value being a teammate. And that's how I've treated modeling. I've treated modeling as if I'm a teammate or a partnership to these brands. If I'm working with you and you're working with me, it's brand to brand, and we're trying to make each other just look and show as best as possible. So I just try and keep that mindset everywhere I go. And so as my professional life increased and I was able to move across the country and work in, different industries, mostly healthcare. Um, I've always had a 9 to 5 job, but modeling has always been a passion that was able to just keep the fuel going, keep the creative juices flowing, and just turn out some really amazing products and a really amazing friendships. And I still talk to Marie to this day. I talk to most of the photographers that I've shot with, and I probably could hit up any of them and just see what they're up to. And if I had to schedule something, I'm sure I could, or if I had to point them in a direction or they point me, it's still like that. So I try to keep that relationship going, and I try and keep that frame of mind and reference when I consider working with someone. It's their brand, my brand, and we're trying to find this synergy to create something really beautiful to put out in the world so that it can be digested in the ways that we hope that it could be, or even the ways that we don't yet see. You know what I mean? It's interesting.
So how are these conversations going with your agents, right? That are submitting your portfolio, right? I'm assuming it's a digital go see, of an audition versus you physically going, to a studio. You really have struck hard the theme of collaboration. So how do you articulate to an agent that I only want, if I am to book this gig, I only want it to be with a company that has this ethos?
Well, that's a good question. I'd say one, it's not always just virtual go sees. Sometimes they are in person, right?
Okay.
And so what agents will do, and mind you, I have one inbox for all my agents, and they are all like categorized. So if it's from one agency, it goes in this inbox, this inbox, this inbox, this inbox. So currently I have 5 agents or agencies that represent me all the way up
Oh,
and down the East Coast.
wow.
Yeah, man, busy, like I said.
Clearly.
But and that's to say that I don't work with each one every month, right? I may work with, one every 3 months, one every 2 months, one twice a month. You never know. But what happens is they'll send you an email, you'll get the casting information. So the brand that you're going to be working with or auditioning for shows up already, right? So I get to research who they are and determine whether or not I'm available for the job. So that's my own, qualification metric. Now, I'll tell you a story. A couple weeks ago, my agent called me and, typically they email. So if I get a call from Allie, I know it's fucking important. I'm sorry, I know it's important. And so Allie calls me. She's like, "Hey, what are you doing on this day? I have a client that wants to shoot with you and they saw you on the website. They want you. You're the guy. They want you. They want to meet you. What are you doing? Are you free on this day to shoot? And are you free on this day to meet them?" And I'm like, and my first question, God's honest truth. And mind you, she gave me the budget. It was a good budget. Matter of fact, I'll just be transparent. It was a $3,000 shoot for one day, right? So that's 3,000 divided by 8 hours. You do the math on what that is hourly, but it's a good day. And so my very first question was, well, who's the client, right? I'm at a point in my life where I'm not driven by the fastness or the acceleration of someone else. I'm not driven by the budget that you may put in front of me. I'm driven by the projects that fuel me, the creativity, the team that I'm a part of. The money helps, but the money helps, but it's not the determining factor. And so my first question was, who's the client? And she said it was Target. And I said, "Oh, Allie, I'm not available." And she's like, "Well, maybe we could change the dates." I'm like, "No, Allie, I think you misunderstand. Right now, I don't even shop at Target. I am boycotting Target because of their reneging on the billion-dollar or multi-billion-dollar investment they were supposed to have in DEI. Please fact check me on the number, but that attitude and that partnership that they said they were going to be a part of and then pulled back on is something I can't support. I don't support it on a daily basis, so I can't support it showing up in one of their advertisements. So I'm so sorry. I hate to tell you no. I have a good partnership with you, but I am so sorry, but I'm not available for that client." And that's something I had to walk away from. Now, 22 Matthew comes back up here. Does he say the same thing? Does he have the same interaction? Does he have the same first, gut thought? Probably not. 22-year-old Matthew could do a lot with $3,000, and that's fair. But in this season of my life, I just know that there's bigger things for me, and I don't have to compromise on my vision and my message and who I am outside of Instagram to make it happen. You know what I mean? So I haven't gotten a call from Allie yet since, but it's only been a few weeks. So I'll get her a Christmas present or a bottle of champagne or something like that, and just let her know that I still really highly respect her, and I'm sure it'll be fine.
How do you think Allie felt when you told her the reason that you were no longer interested?
That's a good question because her follow-up was, well, you have to tell me why because I don't know what's going on in the news. Like, I'm not really caught up in this and the third. Whether or not she knew that or not, people in Miami, they have
What?
their own things going on. Hey, that's not neither here or there for me to judge. But I took that and just said, frankly, I think that was a good place for me to come from because I withdrew my judgment, right? I wasn't like, Allie, you've got to know what's going on, right? It was more that, well, if you don't know, let me just educate you really quickly. Even if you do, I'm still going to just calmly educate you. That's just not the brand that I can support, and this is why. And she said that she totally respected it. I believe her, and she's an amazing woman. She's an amazing agent. She's always got my back, has always had my back when it comes to, working with a brand and making sure I'm all set up and making sure that I'm respected on set. So I hold her in one of the highest standards. She's one of my longest term um, agent relationships. So I think I had that grace for her in the immediate reaction, but yeah, I just clarified. I told her why, and she was fine with it. Now, if there was an agent that I wasn't as clean with, I probably would reserve my language. I'd probably reserve the narrative and just give her a little taste, like, hey, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not available, and just be very, I don't want to use the word secretive, but just not as open and not as transparent as the rationale why, and just reserve that for myself. But I think the decision would have been the same. No, I know the decision would have been the same.
Right. You would have been vague.
I would have been vague. See, Reggie, you got the words. You got the words.
I got what I got. So so that's an extreme example for me in terms of the height of the type of client that you work with. But it sounded like, and if I misread this, you're going to correct me, but it sounded like in your quest for collaboration, it sounded to me more like brands that were in the come up.
Mm.
Is that way off? Is that correct? Is it a little bit of both? What say
Yeah, I
you?
mean, like, hey, Nike, if you're hearing this, like, I'm down. I'm down. You know what I mean? I'll run for you, but I think I do have a soft spot in my heart for a brand that's up and coming. I realize that they might not have the marketing dollars to hire me for $3,000 for the day, right? So they may only be able to book me for 2 to 4 hours for my rate. And that's probably okay. That's something I would probably sacrifice versus the Adidas trying to cheat me out of an entire day and just say, "Oh, we only need you for a half," right? Like, you can hire me for the full, or you can hire me for a competitive rate. And if it's not there, then, it's something that I may have to say no to because I do have to consider travel. I do have to consider where I'm going to stay. I have to plan it out. And if I'm going to utilize my brain power to make it work for the client, I think that they need to kind of make it work for me. And I'm not in a position where I'm telling my agent this is the type of person that I'm gonna work with, or this is the type of person I'm not gonna work with. I more or less pick and choose as the litter comes in, and if they ask why, I give them the need to know answer, right? To one, make sure that the relationship's still strong between us, because that's important. But then two, make sure that I'm still ready and available for work that does come down the line.
Makes sense. What is your favorite type of modeling? Is it print jobs, commercial print jobs, or is it runway?
Favorite type of modeling, hands down, every time, runway, runway, runway. It is so fun. It's like honestly being back in the locker room and about to hit the field and, playing the game, right? It's the showmanship that really shows up in runway. You get to be your personality. You get to wear that front to the face, and then you're allowed to wear these expensive, expensive garments that like just feel good and designed well and like cross their I's, dotted their T's. I love the behind the scenes, and then you get out there in that chaotic mess of girls changing and guys throwing their clothes. I don't throw my clothes, I hang them up neatly. But but just the absolute dog mess of a show that happens behind the stage, then it comes out and it's so beautiful. And there's been shows where it was supposed to be one way, and then we had to adapt. We had to
Mm,
change it and make it work. And the audience wouldn't know,
right.
the audience would have known. They they saw a good show. They had a two-drink minimum and had a good show. They were fine. you know but it just speaks volumes to the teamwork that I mentioned earlier. It's the true essence of that. We all came together from different backgrounds, from different stories, to have this one collaborative experience and delivered. And that's my thing. I love to deliver, whether it's in my modeling or my yoga or my professional career. Delivering is like that dopamine hit that I'm always like, it's just that satisfaction.
What has so far in your career been your favorite shoot? And when I do that, I'm making it all encompassing, whether it's print or runway. We know runway is your love.
Mm,
Give me your favorite so far in your career. What was your best experience?
that's a good question. God, that's a good question. I don't know if I have a favorite shoot because there's so many that's been just so fluid, and working with the directors. I'll tell you what, I love working with one of my good friends, Tars Love. He's a photographer in New York, Brooklyn, New York. And working with him is so amazing because he has this mind of the body that's it's not stagnant. It's the capturing not only the motion but the fluidity of motion. And he
Mm,
gives such good direction that it's hard to miss the vision.
mm,
And then when you see it, and I love modeling for the redo, right? Like, let me try that again. I know you said you got it, but let me try it again, because I feel like the neck could do this, or I feel like the chin could do this, or I feel like I could get a little more of what fluidity you're thinking that I see for myself.
mm,
And I'll tell you this. I tell anyone who's trying to get into modeling, I tell everyone who's trying to get into modeling, it takes practice. You have to practice, practice, practice. Whatever you do in life, it always takes practice. So I tell someone who's like, I'm 6'3", 190 pounds, and a Greek god, like I think I could be in front of a camera. It's just like, oh, you can absolutely be in front of a camera, but do you know how to hit 100 poses in 60 seconds? Do
mm,
you know what you look like in the mirror for every angle of your body and face?
mm,
I feel like, and I'm not there to a point where when the photographer takes the picture, I know what the picture looks like, but I'm close. I'm real close, where it's like, no, we need to do that again. And they're like, no, we got it. I'm like, no, because you're gonna have to take care of this in post, and I know you're not gonna want to, and I'm probably no budget for it. So let me just do it again now, and let's just get this taken care of, right? Because I feel like I know, especially when I fuck up, especially when I mess up. I'm sorry. But it's such a intimate thing to have self-awareness, and
right.
that's just across the board, right? If you're self-aware, you can you can honestly do anything because you're honest about it, right? There's too much of, and I think this is a worldly thing where, we're so ingrained in the outward view of what we look like instead of the inward view of what we look like, and that's what's really important, right? So when it comes to photography, when it comes to modeling, I am so obsessed with practicing. Like, if I have a shoot, I'm practicing. I'm practicing the night before. I'm getting my muscles ready. Have you ever been on set for 6 hours and had to fake smile the entire time?
No.
It's hard as hell. It's not easy. It is not easy. The chipmunk cramps start to kick in, and you're like, I can't do this anymore, Jimmy. Like, it's tough. It's tough. So I think practice is definitely like the key, and just being that self-aware figure in space is what will help anyone for real with anything that they're trying to do, but especially like an outward art like modeling. It's one of those things that you got to see what you look like. You got to explore and like as a straight man saying this, like you've got to look at yourself in the mirror and try different things and just see like I can make this masculine. I can make this softer. I can make this a little feminine. I can make this like
Mm.
manipulate to the story that I'm trying to tell because that is what you are. You're trying to tell a story, but you don't have an hour and a half to play a character. You don't have character development. You are a snapshot in time, plastered on a billboard or plastered on an Instagram reel, and that's all you got. So you got to be able to bring your best and just try certain stuff out and definitely do it before you're in front of the camera and definitely do it before you're in front of the camera getting paid to be there. I think that's a I think that's a big one. No one wants to pay someone to waste their time, and so I am very much about delivering a product that's not a waste of time.
What was the worst shoot or runway show you ever experienced? You're already laughing, so come with it.
I mean, there's some stories, and like I feel like most of them turned out okay, right? But oh gosh, okay. Worst? Oh gosh. All right, I got it. It was a fashion I'm gonna just call it a fashion palooza because they didn't know what the hell they wanted. Reggie. So this was something I was brought in to be talent for, right? They brought me in to walk, take pictures, basically have my shirt off, right? When I get there, I realize that the lady who's barking orders has no idea what she's talking about. And she's a friend of mine. She's trying her best, but the guy who was running the show basically like just was like, "You take care of the models." And she's not experienced in a way to be able to take care of the models. So me seeing this and being the proactive person I am, I'm a project manager. I've been in this industry for at this time 10 years. It's it's like I can't let my people down. And I know I'm here for this reason, but I feel like I need to fulfill this reason. So somehow I got my computer out. I have spreadsheets open. I'm adding emails and phone numbers. I'm contacting models directly. I'm telling them what they need to bring, what time they need to be there. I'm contacting the set design people, letting them know what time they need to be there, what time they can start setting up, what time they need to break down. uh, and then when they came, oh my gosh, I'll never forget this. When they came, they didn't have the right tools to set up the wall. It was supposed to be a wall full of grass. They
Oh.
didn't have the tools to set it up. So the girl who I know, and great chick, she's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna run to Home Depot and get it. I'm like, why are we letting the 5'6" girl who weighs less than 100 pounds go to Home Depot? Like, why is that like even a thought? But I wasn't on set at the time for that discussion. So I get there and I'm just like, well, where's oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank on her name, but I leave her out so that she doesn't get embarrassed.
Right, right. It's all good.
I'm like, where is she? They're like, she's at Home Depot trying to get X, Y, and Z. So she comes back with the wrong materials. We don't have time to put up the wall. It goes up and it's like half done. I'm just like, get it out of here. Like, just pick it up, put it in the back. We tried, it didn't work. Like, just take it away. Um, so some of the props made it out on the floor. Some of the experiences that they had planned because it was an opening for a like the whole premise was that it was an opening for a photo oh my gosh, like a photo suite, right? They had like 12 sets,
Mm.
12 different photography sets set up in this like big warehouse space. I'm drawing a blank on the name and I know what they're called, but either way, it was like their big like launching, right? They were just trying to show that they could do so much at one time, and it fell so flat, and I had to do so much. And at the end, I was like, you know, I'm glad this worked. I hope you see the value that I add to a team.
Mm.
Contact me 3 months in advance next time, and I'll get you straight. I'll give you a budget, I'll give you a plan, and we'll work through this and make sure it's tip top and clear. That hasn't happened yet. They hadn't contacted me. They've been doing stuff. God bless them. I hope it all works out. But yeah, it's that was an interesting experience for sure. And God, I can only say I just wish them the best. You know what I mean?
Understood. Tell us about the very first job you booked.
Wow. Actually booked.
Yeah.
That is so fun because as a model, you do a lot of free stuff. You try not to, and you try and value yourself, but there's a certain time where you're just grasping for experience, right? So I know for the first maybe year there was very few that I actually got paid for. I think, and this was like some of my friends had brands, and I'm like, I'll shoot with you this and the third, throw me, 50 bucks for the 3 hours or 2 hours. Like, I think that is technically my first, I ain't pay taxes on it, so maybe that's not what we're talking about it. But, I think that's the first kind of like engagement that I remember. And then like also just like working with people that I found inspiring, right? I also tell folks that are trying to get in the industry that they need to come up with a prompt. ChatGPT's around now, so there's no excuse. I had to write it in my notes when I was coming through, right? I'm sure you had pen and paper when you were coming through. Everybody gets a little bit better,
Absolutely.
but you got ChatGPT now. Make yourself a prompt and just start reaching out to brands that you feel like you fall in line with, right? And that's the thing that I started doing just innately, right? I was like scrolling through Instagram one day. I saw a brand on my Explorer page. I sent them a message. I saw the next one on my Explorer page. I sent them a message, and then I was like, why am I wasting my time sending one-offs when I need to bulk this, right? I need to come up
Mm.
with a narrative or a template that I can fill out really fast
Mhm.
and just send, you know? So I started doing that. And then I realized it's not just brands. It's creative directors, it's
Yep.
stylists, it's photographers, it's directors, it's anyone who thinks that they're artistic and has a vision. How do I collaborate with them to make myself valuable so that the visions that they have can come true? And that's what being a model is. You're a part of someone else's vision to help them see it to completion. A guy once asked me, did I know what a muse was? And I was like, I mean, yeah, it's like, what you draw, and like that's the subject of the art. And it's just like, no, it's the subject that inspires the art. It's the
Right.
subject that helps bring the art into the living physical realm from the creative dream state. And I thought that was so beautiful. And I'm just like, oh, you want me to be your muse? Like, I mean, all right, I don't, it's just like, what do um, and so I think I took that as well and just kept adding it to my repertoire. I kept adding it to the things that I'm offering people. So I like to think that like if I show up on your set, I'm not just your model for the day, but I'm helping I'm your muse to help you develop and deliver whatever you had on your vision board, whatever you had in your mind, whatever that first, second, third conversation between you and the client was about what their target audience is, what they want to see, how they want it to be portrayed, and then can I create that within that snapshot? It's like some of these sets, you'll be on there and they'll take 1,000 pictures, but it's
Mm,
like you're going to use three,
right.
right? So I like to think like, how can I give them those three? How can I make them choosing those three the hardest part of their day? Because there's so much that they can go with that I can only use three. Like I want them to feel the pain that they can only use so much that I deliver. You know what I mean? And that's just, yeah, that's just the mindset.
Well said. Lightning round, my friend. Why is
Ooh,
fashion important?
fashion is important because it expresses the individual creativity that you see in the world and that you bring into your own space. It's not about mimicking and mocking, it's about finding things that are beautiful and manipulating them to your story, to your space, to your time, um to your being, like who you think is who you are in a certain sense. So I think fashion is a big, big part of that.
What difference has fashion made in your life?
It has gotten me into rooms that I didn't know existed. It
Mm,
has opened up doors, both professionally, both personally. Um, I don't know that I would be the yoga teacher I am without fashion and just meeting people and realizing that the people that are so creative to be able to produce things that other people find themselves in also do things outside of just that, right? They are multifaceted people themselves. And so I just really align with that kind of lifestyle and that kind of being. And I feel like I found my community in that, overarching world that just has networks bouncing all around the world.
mm. What's the top fashion tip you would give the everyday man to look his best?
Mm, materials and textures are so important. Uh, colors are great, but think about materials and textures and how you can layer and cross-represent and, kind of if you're developing your own style or you have what you think is your own style, how do you express the spectrum of that? And be comfortable, but also be comfortable with being uncomfortable in certain ways. Fashion is both evolutionary, but it's also cyclical, right? You'll see things that went out of style that come back, but you'll also see things that you never imagined are now kind of in the forefront of the world and what people view as culturally fashionable. I guess is some.
I think you got it. Last question. What does the phrase always be fly mean to you?
Always be fly. I think it's an attitude thing. Um, y- Clothes don't make you fly, but putting yourself in spaces where you're visible and you're authentic and you show up that way, not just with the mindset, but you look like it. I think those are always, ways to just work along the purpose that God has for you. You know what I mean?
Mm,
If you're not showing up the way that you authentically are, then you're kind of going against the way that God's purpose is for you, and you might miss out on something that He's got in the back. You might miss out on a door that's not being opened because you're not showing up as that authenticity.
That sounds like a mic drop, Matthew Flowers.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Throw the bomb.
Thank you so much. It's really interesting to hear the life of a millennial model who is much more than the sum of those parts. So I thank you.
Reggie, I thank you, man. This is awesome. You really got my juices flowing on this one. You know, I think it's important to have these conversations with, great men that fuel other great men and pour into the community and, continue to just highlight things that are not only uh, amazing and beautiful, but just important, with the trajectories that we have going on. So, no, I thank you for having the space, man. This is awesome.
Well, when you find that man, you let me know.
We'll see you, right?
Peace.
Peace.